Hi, this is Lois Romano, and we are ready to turn the tables on John Roberts of Fox News. Good morning, John. How are you?
Good, Lois.
There's been a lot of action in Washington this week about talk about shutting down the budget and the Republicans' personal acrimony towards each other. How do we think this is going to play out, and what impact is it going to have on the Republicans in general moving forward?
Lois, I think it's pretty clear how this is going to play out in the coming hours. There appears to be no question that the Republicans have the vote to pass this continuing resolution with language that defunds and delays Obamacare. It's what happens next week that will tell the tale of where we go from here. I think it's also pretty clear that Harry Reid is going to strip out the language from the Senate version of the bill to defund and delay Obamacare, pass a continuing resolution, and then fire that one back at the House. And that's really where the rubber meets the road. The Republicans have a number of different options. They could just simply choose not to vote. They could put the Obamacare back in and then send it back to the Senate again, or they could do a number of other things as well. But each step along the way gets us closer to the deadline, closer to a government shutdown. And it would appear, if history is any guide, that a government shutdown most likely would not play favorably to the Republicans. There's a lot of talk about 1995, 1996 when the government was shut down, and that some people will say, well, it didn't harm Republicans too much. They picked up 2 seats in the Senate. They lost a couple in the House. But don't forget, Bill Clinton won that landslide election in 1996. And so what potentially happened there was that the Republicans handed Bill Clinton a bigger victory than he might have gotten otherwise, and who knows what the calculation would have been. 2014 is still a long way away, so they do have some time to regroup, even if they get dinged pretty hard. But the smart money would say that a government shutdown this time around is not going to play well with Republicans and will give the Democrats a very big stick to hit them with all the way through to next year.
John, talk a little bit about the current infighting within the Republican Party, and if this is really going to harm the brand.
Well, you know, there's enough fighting going on between Republicans and Democrats, but it's the Republican infighting really that could, derail a lot of things and hurt the brand going forward. Ted Cruz, of course, has said that he is going to do anything he can to try to fight for defunding of Obamacare when the bill hits the Senate. But let's not forget that a couple of days ago, he was already conceding defeat, saying, we're in the minority in the Senate. We don't think that we're going to be able to do anything. That really incensed House Republicans, who said, Republicans in the Senate, you've got to get on board this fight. If you're either with us or you're against us, and if you're not with us, we're not going to get anywhere with this. So I think Cruz is feeling the slings and arrows at the moment from his Republican colleagues. And if he decides to run for president in 2016, and there really isn't any indication at this point that he's got the fire in his belly to do that, it certainly could harm his chances among elements of the GOP base. But Ted Cruz is, kind of a brand unto his own, so this may only be a temporary setback. But no question that the Republicans have been all over the map on this continuing resolution, with Boehner floating one idea with Cantor last week, and then the conservative wing of the party, the Tea Party wing, saying, nope, you're not going to do that. Boehner giving into that side of the party, which is why we're seeing the continuing resolution that's coming before Congress today.
What this seems to tell me, just to do a quick follow-up, is that there were not a whole lot of lessons learned from the last campaign cycle.
Put it this way.
Among Republicans.
Put it this way. The Republicans had terrible messaging in the 2012 election campaign, and according to a lot of Republicans I have talked to in the last few days, they still have terrible messaging. And you'll hear a lot of complaining about that. They keep on putting the same people in the same positions as they have before. And there are some Republicans who believe it's time to shake things up, get some new blood in there, and really fix the messaging before the 2014 midterm elections, and certainly before the 2016 presidential election.
As you may know, we're next week launching a fairly big initiative at Politico called Women Rule, highlighting women who have made an impact in their communities and the world. Can you share with us what woman in your life has made the greatest impact on you?
Well, there really are two. The woman who made the greatest impact in the early stages of my life, no question, was my mother. She was widowed when I was age 5. She hadn't been working at that point. She had to go out when my father died and get a job to keep a roof over the heads of myself, my brother, and my sister. She didn't have a college education, so her job opportunities were limited. She worked as a cashier in a drugstore for a time, then a receptionist at a car dealership. She was making about $90 a week, which really is poverty level wages, but managed to keep that roof over our head, managed to keep our stomachs full, kept new clothes on our backs. And by the time that she finally passed away in 2010 at the age of 96, had amassed a small fortune in her retirement. And she taught me the value of a dollar. She taught me the value of hard work. She taught me what it means to be responsible for yourself. And I think that that's a message that has been lost among a lot of the youth of today. And it's really their parents' fault for not telling them that life is difficult and you got to get out there and you got to work at it. The second most influential woman in my life, quickly becoming the most influential woman in my life, is my dear wife, Kara Phillips, who is pretty good at running my life and encouraging me to be a better person every day. So those are the two most influential women in my life.
Great, thank you. So moving forward, can you share with us what we can expect to hear and see on Fox News Sunday?
Chris Wallace has got a tremendous lineup coming up on Sunday. Ted Cruz is going to be joining him. It's been a long time since Ted Cruz has been on a Sunday show, so it'll be great to hear from the senator. Claire McCaskill will also be joining, as will Charles Dulfer, former UN weapons inspector, to talk about the way forward in Syria and whether or not the United Nations and the U.S. can be assured that Assad is going to give up all of his weapons and the logistics to be able to do that, and whether Assad will give up his weapons. Don't forget, Assad told our Greg Palkot and Dennis Kucinich earlier this week that he thought it would take about a year for all of those weapons to be secured and destroyed, but we'll see if that's the timetable that he actually adheres to.
Great, sounds like a terrific show. Thanks so much for joining us, John.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks so much, Lois.